Hi everybody, it's Anne. Welcome to Art on the Creek. You know, we are in my home studio in Parker, Colorado, and I am always on the hunt for that unicorn of all unicorns, a handmade cotton sketchbook that I really like. Now, by handmade, I mean the paper is handmade. So this little sketchbook I've been using for my mascot challenge for Major League Baseball. It's a honeymoon. It's not handmade, but it is beautifully stitched. And I really like it. It does lie flat. Very nice, but it's not handmade paper. And it's also very small. These come in other sizes, but not quite what I'm looking for. Then I found this guy. I really like how unique it looks. I mean, that deco paper is really very nice. It's handmade, hand stitched. I'm not sure if it's hand bound and all that, but the inside of it definitely, all the signatures are put together by hand. This paper is not consistent. So you have a big old fold right here. So that's not gonna, you can't really paint that out. So you don't have a lot of quality control. And the pages, we'll get into this. This is part of the video. The pages have so much texture that it can make it a little bit difficult to paint. This is the one we're going to talk about today, the Viviva Sketchbook. I'm super excited. And full disclosure, I do have an affiliate link in the description below in the video, as I have had with Viviva for the past few months. But I'm really liking their products, so I'm excited to share this one with you. And I'm going to compare it to this one here, which is, like I said, it's a handmade. It's just hard to, the paper's handmade. It's hard to get a lot of detail out of this. Your washes run out of control, and that's what I'm going to show you a little bit more of when we get started. So for today, I want to talk about the Viviva Sketchbook that is handmade from 100% cotton. Size A5, my favorite size. Let's open this up. Let's see what we got. Are you ready? Here we go. Super excited to review this. You've heard me talk about it, the Viviva Sketchbook. It's 100% cotton and it's got 40 pages, 20 sheets, so you can use front and back. Very excited that it's 300 GSM, 140 pound paper, fine grain cold press finish. It's acid free and it is vegan. It is a faux leather bound book. It opens fully flat. I am really excited to try this. So let's open it. So far, very happy. It's comparable with all of the other sketchbooks I have. I like the little silver embossed Viviva Colors, and the elastic is easy to remove. And it looks like when you open it, there is the inside cover where you could put your personal information in case it's lost. Sometimes your Instagram handle, and then they can direct message you. But anyway, if you do lose your sketchbook, it's nice to get it back. And then, I don't know if you can see, but there is a fold right here. This is like a little book inside of a book, inside of a cover. Unlike the travel kit, this journal is not refillable. This one is not watercolor paper. This is just a cover sheet. Handmade paper. Can you see the flecks in it? It's very nice. It does have a nice texture for being fine grain cold press. Let's just open it up. Take a few pages here. And let's look at that lay flat promise here. It really does. That's pretty nice. And then of course you can clip it down, which is what I have to do, which is about every sketchbook. This one here is a Hana Mule, and it's 100% cotton. It's the one I'm doing my baseball mascot challenge in. And I will show you the difference in how it's bound. So this one has stitching right here, and this one has the little bit of insert here. Is that there's a pocket here, and those are usually nice for when you take these things on trips. You can use them to store tickets, memories, things like that, and then you can have an additional memory of your trip. And here is the Hanamul. You can see it's a little whiter, more white. This one has kind of an ivory tone to it, which is kind of nice. It's almost toned, like a toned sketchbook. I really like that. It's size A5. This is an A6 here. And this measures about 5 inches by 8 inches. Let's go ahead, let's sketch something on here. Let's try on the very first page here. I just came up with an idea. Now I'm going to use my Rosa watercolors. Why? Because they're sitting here. That's it. I'm lazy. I have no other explanation. But these are the ones I want to use. And I've got a little pencil here. I just had an idea of sketching three paint tubes and having them mix in the middle, so that way we can see how these look. So let's go ahead and just kind of sketch this. I'm just going to use my imagination here. I've got this portion sped up on 8 times the speed because it's not really a tutorial and I am just drawing it from my imagination. But if it inspires you and you'd like to learn how to do this, I can certainly make a tutorial for you. I'm more than happy to do that. In fact, what I really like to do is to tailor this channel really for you. And one of the best ways that you can do that is to become a member. Now, this is a review and I do a review every Sunday, but sometimes I'll release these reviews early to members so they'll have access to them before anyone else. And oftentimes when I review something, I will have an affiliate link with a coupon, like I do here with this case, so that you can save money on your purchase if that's something you decide to do after watching the review. I have 3 tiers available of memberships for my channel. I have the Buffalo level, the Red Rocks level, and the Pikes Peak level. And these are respectively at $2.99 a month, $4.99 a month, and $9.99 a month. The benefits are cumulative and each one grows a little bit. I'll have a link in the bottom so that you can see all of the great benefits that are associated with membership. But a lot of the fun things that you'll get are exclusive tutorials, exclusive reviews, early released videos, and access to my entire library of tutorials. So hopefully it's something that you will find value out of, because without these memberships and super thanks that you can donate a one-time payment to Art on the Creek, I won't be able to continue making videos for you, because I am doing this since it's my passion, but I also do need to fund this effort. So it is you, all of you, by watching and by clicking on the links, that is what funds my progress here on Art on the Creek. So if you're enjoying what you're seeing, please let me know by asking a question or leaving a comment, liking, sharing a video. All of these things are helpful, but certainly if you really wanted to help a little bit more, please consider a membership to my channel. So let's go on to our next drawing now. I think what I'd like to do is an elephant. I did a review a while ago on some paints, and I did a little elephant in there, and I lost the footage. So the elephant was so cute, I kind of want to draw her again. So let's do that one, and I will speed this one up also. The journal has some really neat qualities, and I want to talk about those while I'm drawing this elephant for you. The first thing I want to talk about is the sizing on this watercolor paper. As you know, or you may not know, watercolor paper has a sizing on it. Sometimes it can feel a little bit gelatinous and slippery. This doesn't. It seems like it's a little more dry. I feel a little bit more pull from the brush. Not saying that's good or bad, it's just the way that it works. One thing I really like is that this is one of my favorite pens. I got it from Graby, actually. It is a Superior pen and Superior brand pen, and I love it because it's got a flexible nib, so when you're doing any kind of little character art or animated anything, anime style rather, you can go ahead and get these dynamic lines that have different widths by changing the pressure on the pen, and I really like that. And it's a permanent ink pen. One great thing about this particular sketchbook is that it is gentle on the pen. I have no worries whatsoever that I'm going to ruin this nib on this watercolor paper, which is a huge, huge plus for me. Getting around that feel of the cream colored paper, it's a little bit darker than ivory. It's actually kind of cream color. It's a little bit of an adjustment, but it's fun. I really like it. It is like using a toned sketchbook paper, and so you might want to change what it is you paint. It'll change your values ever so subtly, but not in a way that you really have to alter anything great make any great alterations rather. It's just something different, and it really does give a nice soft look to your work. You won't have that vibrant luminescence from your watercolors because the paper that you're painting on is not pure white. One thing I want you to notice, do you see how the paint goes on the paper and leaves kind of as if you were painting on suede? That's kind of the texture of this paper. Now, it doesn't feel textured like suede like that, but the way that the pigment grabs onto the paper is really very unique. And that is a very common characteristic of handmade paper. As handmade papers go, I really, really like this one because I've had several, and a lot of them are slippery to paint on. The paint gets out of control very easily, and there's so much texture that you really can't do any fine detailed work. That is not the case at all. None of those are true with this particular one, and I was really happy with using it. Now I kind of want to see if I can lift off this smudge here. Now, some of these pigments might be staining. I'll have to dig to find that information, but I couldn't lift that smudge off at all, and that's on the carmine paint. So no worries, just kind of keep that in mind, that if you're going to lift something off here, you would need to do it as soon as possible. I did not have any trouble painting this elephant at all. I like the way everything went down. I thought that the separation of the pigments was really quite lovely. And now I think let's try a leaf, because we can do some other watercolor techniques on this, and I want to keep this one at real time so that we can see how the paint plays and acts on here and see if it's something that you would like to consider. Now I'm going in with their warm yellow, which is a cad yellow light, and I'm just making a basic leaf shape here, nothing fancy. Filling it in with the yellow, trying to add a fair amount of pigment, but also I'm just going to go in and drop some water in here in just a little bit to use that to spread the pigment around, because what I really want to do is to be able to mix and meld some colors on here just to see how wet on wet techniques work. I like doing fall leaves to play with different watercolor techniques, because the colors, a lot of times when the fall leaves are changing color, they really do look like watercolor when they change. And I think this is a fun way to try it. I'm going in with the green, which looks a lot like a sap green to me, although they just call it green, and then a cad red medium. And I'm just going to let these colors kind of play together and mix on the paper. You'll notice that these colors really don't move a lot on this paper. Now, I've used this set many times before, and I have found that there's a little bit of flow to these paints. I mean, it's nothing like a Core QOR. It's nothing like a Core paint by Golden. It's just they don't normally sit still this much, and I have a feeling that that has to do with the sizing. It's not a negative. In fact, I don't dislike that at all. I like the feeling that I have a little bit more control over my paints. And watercolor is kind of out of control, and that was one of the things that was the most difficult hurdle for me when I first learned watercolor, was to accept that it had a mind of its own and it was going to do whatever the heck it darn well pleased. And if I can have a paper like this that would help me control that paint a little bit, well, it just makes it a more enjoyable painting experience. And remember, art should be fun. And if you're going to sit there and struggle and not enjoy what you're doing, then you're not going to have any fun. So far, I'm having fun. I think this is a decent sketchbook. And for the price, 40 pages, I think that's really pretty good. Because you can use the back of the page. It's got 40 pages front and back, so that's 20 sheets. But that's 40 paintings, you guys. That's a lot, and you can take this on a trip. Just imagine if you went on a vacation for 2 weeks, and even if you did a painting every day, you wouldn't fill this up. So that's really, really cool. I like sketchbooks that are of a decent size. And speaking of size, I do like that 5 by 8 inches too. It's almost 6 inches, 6 inches by 8 about. The A5 size is really good because you can put a lot of little things on a page, or you can make one big scene, and you can fold it out and paint a really tall building if you hold it vertically, or you can do a whole big landscape and use both sides of the page. And that is because it does lay flat, and then that the binding in the middle, it's stitched. So you don't have any kind of glue to worry about that it's going to come undone. So you could really go to town on some wet on wet techniques here with this book and have a whole lot of fun. I'm trying to try some cool techniques on here, and then we'll come back and look at it when it's done. I'm just putting some salt here on this now. I did some water droplets on the red, and on the green square I put some salt. And now I've got some salt on that leaf, and I've got to let that dry naturally, so we'll be back and take a look at that. But that's just regular old table salt. So let's let this dry, and we'll be right back to show you the results. So here we are back. This has had plenty of time to dry, and I've closed it just to show you the cover of the book again. It's beautifully made. This the binding looks like it's really secure. It is stitched in here, so we won't have any problem with that. I see a stitch. That is a stitched binding, folks. I've taken the salt off of the leaf, and it was here on the green. Really nice effect from that there. Also on the leaf, I just love the lacy effect you can get there. The water droplets going into the red, no problem. I did another little swatch of the carmine just to see what a wash would look like on there. This is watercolor pencil. No. The pigment separation. Can you see how the ultramarine pulled apart from the burnt sienna in this gray mix here? And it's just, there we go. It's just gorgeous. And I just love the way that turns out, which is why I decided to paint an elephant for you. Look at this great pigment separation we have on her skin, and it just, because of the texture of the paper, it really does look like elephant skin, and I just love that. I love that effect. This paper is so easy to achieve those kinds of effects with. Really enjoy it. Let me show you what our paint tubes look like, all done here. Very simple painting, but so easy to do, very quick, very easy. Really like the way that the paints went down. The cream color does take away from the vibrancy of the pigments just a little bit, but not enough to be a complete deterrent. So let me show you something. I want to compare between this handmade sketchbook and another one that I have. I just want to show you a little bit of something interesting with this paper. This is a different handmade paper that I purchased, and this is pretty typical of what handmade paper is. It's very textured. It almost looks like a kitchen towel, a paper towel, deckled edge, and this has an awful lot of sizing on it. You can feel it. You can feel that it is slippery, and this doesn't feel slippery as much. You can feel that sizing, and it really does carry through to the way the paint moves on the paper. So let me show you. I'll do this one first. I'm going to get this wet just with some clear water. And now I'm going to drop in some ultramarine. Can you see how it just follows the veins and lines in the paper? And that's really something that you usually need to account for when you're using any kind of a wet on wet in a handmade paper. Now that's an awful lot of water. Let me show you one that's got a little more reasonable amount of water on it here. And we'll use a different color. I will go into the green, and you can see the same thing. See how the water just catches on to, or rather the pigment just catches on to the texture, and it just really runs down in the rivulets like that. It's something that the way that the paint lands on here makes me not like this paper as much. It's a personal preference. You know, you can do wet on wet techniques and everything will bleed and merge just fine, but it is a very different experience working on the Viviva sketchbook. Let me just show you. We'll do this green and ultramarine. See how it kind of comes out like a spider like that? So now let's do that same test on this page here. I will just go in with some clean water, and we'll make a rectangle here, and we'll go in with some ultramarine. Make sure I'm zoomed in enough so that you can see this. Here we go. So see, it does follow those rivulets, but it's just not as fast. And the brush feels different on this paper. So because that's a characteristic of handmade papers in my mind, I like the Viviva sketchbook better for that reason, because you have just a little bit more control of the paint. So there's another wet area. Let's put in some green. See if we can, there, now you can see it. So that the paint's going to move really well on the wet on wet, and it's going to go in there just fine, but can you see how it traveled down those rivulets? So, and we can also put in some of those paints here, like so. And you can really tell on that blue on the green that you're not getting those intense spiders. It's kind of not a very good contrast there. I got that green kind of dark, but I hope that you can see the difference between these two. Let me see if I can get them both in frame here. There we go. When you're working with it, when you're painting, this book here, the Viviva Colors 100% cotton sketchbook, you'll have a little bit more control than you will on another type of handmade paper. This is the only other type I've seen of handmade papers. I'm sure there's a lot of them out there, but for all the handmade papers that I've worked with, I like this one the best. So you guys, I think this is a really good deal. You get all of those pages. You get 20 sheets, which really is 40 because you can use the back, and for only $20 US right now. Plus you can use my coupon, which would be in the description, and I will put my Viviva Color Sheets playlist up here because there's a lot of other products I featured. I'm Every time I encounter this company, I've been pleased. If you are one that likes handmade cotton paper, this is really cool. The 100% cotton rag is recycled from the garment industry, so you're also making very little impact on the environment. If that's something that's important to you, then this might be something for you to consider. So, if you've been in the market for an A5 sized sketchbook that's 100% cotton, 40 pages, so you have 20 sheets but 40 paintings that you can put in there, 140 pound, 300 GSM, acid free, lies fully flat, faux leather bound, very environmentally friendly. Give this one a try. You might like it. Thank you so much, guys. I'm really glad you tuned in today, and have a wonderful artsy week. We'll see you next time. Bye now.